So, let me see. All right. Hello, everyone. I hope everything's going well for everybody. It's a pretty exciting time here at Silks. I think it's a pretty exciting time in the Web3 space in general with the merge and everything going on. And I think that we're at a very exciting, point in the business where, we have the MVP coming out fairly soon. A lot of things have been in development, are still in development, but we're making a lot of great progress, which is amazing. And today, on my end, I'm excited to share some development updates with everybody to kind of take a sneak peek and look into what's coming in the coming months with the MVP, kind of in anticipation for the yearling sale, right? What can we expect out of the gate with the MVP, and some really cool, I guess, teasers or looks into what we've been working on, which I think is going to get everyone very, very excited. I think it's going to definitely speak to a lot of hard work that we've been doing, and I'm excited to share and also kind of talk through what I'd say the vision is for MVP, what we've been developing, and then from I'd say experience standpoint, what you could expect. I'm excited to dive into it. So there's a couple different, I guess, development teams within Silks. We have all the NFT assets that we create, right, all in-house. We have all these incredible pieces of 3D content and everything that we make that functions really well from a marketing perspective to a NFT perspective to, right, like a really cool, I say, digital asset that you own. But now we're about to take everything that we've created and bring it to life. Bring it to life in an interactive experience, bring it to life in a game that allows you to actually strategize and play. And what I'm about to show you is kind of a look behind the scenes in terms of what that gameplay will be, and how these assets will function and interact with one another. So I'm excited to do this. I think we can keep this free flowing. As always, Ben, Squid, if you guys have anything you want to ask about, or if you're looking at particular questions in the chat that you think I could speak to, I think that'd be awesome as well. I kind of like keeping it open like that. We'll keep it open to questions at the end. I do have a hard stop at 1, so I'll try to go through this for the first I'd say 30, 35 minutes, and then we can open it up to Q&As. So to kick things off, we have what we call the Silks portal. The Silks portal, I guess, is the entry point or the home page of the actual MVP experience. It's where users are going to essentially, reach the page of Game of Silks, connect their wallet, and enter into the game. So let me just share a quick reference of that for everybody. Let's see. Right here. Okay, there we go. And it's essentially kind of going to be one of these key entry points. I have to make sure the file uploads properly, but this looks pretty good. And when you enter the actual site, you're going to see kind of this home state, and you're going to be prompted to connect your wallet and to essentially access your account within the game. And this game is fully native with blockchain. So when you actually connect to your wallet, all of the other fields that you see in the header, whether it be your avatars, the map, your stable, even the marketplace, will be impacted by the asset that you own within your wallet. And you're going to be able to have a tailored experience based on the assets that you own. What I'm going to be doing on this presentation is I'm going to be going over each one of these header pieces, diving into them, and then kind of talking to you what you could expect from an experience as it relates to these headers. One big thing when we've been developing has been to develop, I'd say, strategically. You don't want to create situations where you're kind of creating additional work that will push off the timeline or create additional friction for someone who's trying to navigate the game or experience, kind of entry point gameplay. So what we've been really working on is thinking through, right, from the UX perspective, the experience perspective, is how are people going to navigate from each page? How are they going to interact with their assets? And even more than that, how could we get, as I like to call 2-for-1s, meaning you design one layout and it kind of works and functions for a lot of other layouts so that we could ensure that we get everything functioning the way that we want and then continue to refine and build on top of all of that. So what you'll see is a really, I'd say, seamless system that we built out that helps bring your wallet to life, right? When we were first designing this, we were thinking, or some of the original designs that were mocked up were kind of like, Maybe this is all your assets, all your NFTs are located in one location. But I thought it was really important, and we really worked hard on essentially creating what your wallet would look like in a game, and bringing each piece of your NFT asset to life in its own unique way. And I think it elevates, kind of the value proposition of an asset. It will really help everyone kind of understand the value of their assets. And the beauty of this, which I'll get into right now, is I'm going to dive into the avatar page, and I'll explain how the page was built to essentially flow across the site, so that from a value standpoint, when you're looking at an avatar, there's so much you could understand by just looking at the page of an avatar. So let me pull that up right now for everybody, which is really cool. I don't think I've shared this before, but kind of here's a sneak peek, if you will, at the avatar viewer page. And I've looked at it many times. We've been working on developing it and building it, and there's actually a lot here. So obviously, when you look at your assets, the beautiful thing about Web3 is the fact that everything is liquid, right? Everything's can be bought and sold. And you want to make sure that throughout the entire user experience, you have that freedom of liquidity associated with it. So anytime you look at any one of our assets in the game, you could potentially either sell it or put an offer on it or buy it. And that's what's so unique about kind of integrating Web3 with games, is the fact that each one of these assets has liquidity tied to it. So when we thought about that, obviously there's a marketplace that lives on its own, but the entire game is a marketplace. When you're interacting with the user dashboard right here, right, every asset you look at has marketplace functionality. But then additionally, when you're in the actual metaverse, right, the goal is for you to be able to walk over to any single asset you see, whether it be a horse, down the road even an avatar, a stable, a farm, right, and be able to essentially put an offer on it or purchase it right there on the spot. And that's, I think, something that's really cool that we're going to be integrating into the game. So when you look at this page, what you'll notice is that right now when you go to OpenSea and you look at an avatar, it's really just a PFP. But our goal with the avatar page is to take it from being just a PFP and to bring it to actual life when you're looking at this asset. So when you look at the bottom right corner, you'll see that you have basically all of your avatars, whether you have 1, 2, 3, etc. You'll be able to basically choose which one you want to look at, list it for sale, accept an offer, etc. But this is all from your own viewer. When you're in the marketplace, there will be a similar visual representation of each avatar when you click into it, similar to here. And the beautiful thing about it is now you have the ability to not just look at an avatar, but you have the ability to look at the distinct crest associated with that avatar. You have the ability to click on the avatar and view it in 3D to see what it would look like in the game. And additionally, you have the ability to test the silks, test your distinct dynasty silks on an actual thoroughbred, on an actual racehorse. Now, the one that when you're viewing it, it's not the racehorse that you own, it's just the visual representation of what these might look like if you bought this avatar and put it on your horse. So now all of a sudden, when someone reaches our marketplace in the silks marketplace, when they're looking at an avatar, it's no longer just a PFP. It brings the whole avatar to life. And when you're looking at any avatar in the collection, all of a sudden you now get a really strong sense of what it will look like in the game, how it will function within, how does it interact with your assets. And you do get a lot nicer of a profile photo of it, where it's kind of like a lot more in terms of the size of the body, right in the front of that actual page. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to do a kind of a cool thing. One, I'll just show you guys a quick GIF reference of viewing an avatar in 3D, which we're essentially exporting, and we've been working on this. So what I'm about to show you right now is actually not the final version. It's going to be quite better than this because it's going to be animated. But you'll be able to see that you're going to be able to essentially click on any avatar in the game, and you're going to be able to interact with it. Let me know if you see this GIF, right? And it's gonna really bring every single one to life, which is pretty cool. And these are all in the dev update slides. Additionally, one thing I'm gonna do that's pretty cool right now, because it's all built out, and I'll be able to do it, is Squid Ben, if you want to ask the chat for an avatar ID number, I'll show them the crest associated with that avatar, because we've generated all the crests. So if you want to give me an avatar ID number, maybe do 1 or 2 of them, I'll basically upload what that crest looks like in the Dropbox, so people can kind of see kind of how we've created the crest generation for each avatar. All right, let me do that one first. Right, 2797, and I'll essentially share it. So that one's all purple, right? Yeah, okay. So I'll show that this one right here. And that's an incredibly rare avatar because it has the whole color. So not many avatars have that, that ability. I think it's only like, what, 20, 21, 22 avatars have its own distinct color. So that's that crest. But the way that we design the model is, right, every helmet, body pattern, sleeve pattern creates a distinct coat of arms. So we essentially associated 3 locations with each pattern, and then we were able to generate each one, through a generative script. You want to give me another number? Yeah. Listen, I wouldn't have fallen for that because I don't even think we're able to. Not even able to do that. So, yeah. Let's see. Upload.
Slippery.
Sneaky, sneaky. There you go. So it's kind of cool. We have all of them generated, and now when you look at your avatar profile view, you're gonna have a lot more of a, an appreciation for the actual avatar, which is pretty cool. And yeah, it's gonna function really nicely for the marketplace as well. The next page I'm going to dive into is going to be the land map. Now, this is a big piece of the MVP. I mean, it's a major piece. You look at games like Decentraland, look at games like the Sandbox, right? You look at all these metaverse games, and they all have their own click map. And ours is going to function exactly the same, except there's a whole component of developing land that we've built out, which is really, really cool, that other games don't have. So, just for I guess, kind of an overview. What I'm about to show you right now is kind of the design of the MVP of the map. The colors of the land might change in terms of how we kind of use a legend to adjust the colors, but the overall search functionality and the left-hand nav and the way you're going to be able to interact with it are going to be MVP. So let me just upload a reference for everyone, and I'll get that shared right now. Let's see. All right. So one thing we will be releasing, just a quick note, is we'll be releasing a glossary of terms. So our whole MVP will have consistency across terminology, which we're just refining right now. So we could have that whole game, I'd say, terms locked into place. But what you're looking at is this click map, right? And when you're on this map and you connect your wallet, obviously it's going to have tailored for you the asset that you own, contiguous land associated with the asset that you own, and then the ability for you to convert that land into a farm or really develop that land into a farm. And I'll get into that in a second because prior to the sale of our horses, obviously there's some really great AMAs we're doing. There'll be some really cool announcements that we make, and it's only going to get everyone very excited. So I'm excited about that as it relates to land, stables, and farms. So what you're looking at is basically the click map, right? Skyfall is going to be around 25,000 acres in size. The whole map is 202,500 acres, right? So it's that large, and the beginning of the game, though, is going to require everyone to essentially redeem their Skyfalls tokens in exchange for an acre of land in the Skyfalls region, right? And if we look at the gameplay doc, previous announcements, and just learn about Skyfalls, it's going to be quite a valuable, region within the game. And the cool thing is the map's going to be built in real time. So what that means is you're going to be able to actually see the map form as people redeem their Skyfalls tokens. So it's not going to start off all green. It's going to start off actually hidden in black, and then as people redeem their tokens, the map will start to get populated and filled with acres of land. And that's it's pretty cool because in live time we're going to be able to see people creating the actual map and building the foundation of our metaverse, which is pretty special. And then here's just a quick look at kind of some of the UI we're mocking up for the redemption process. So when you go in to redeem your Skyfalls parcels, right, you're going to be able to tell you how many you have, how many you'd like to redeem, and then you go through the redemption process to get those kind of put into the map. And I'm going to focus on the map for a little bit here. So I just want to show kind of, expression of redeeming your Skyfalls plot. But when you're looking at the map, you're going to be able for MVP to have specific search functionalities. Search functionality is going to be fairly straightforward to begin with. And then as the game develops and as we iterate post MVP, there's going to be more advanced search options and all these variables. Now, you're going to create a profile within the game. I have some content I can share around profiles. I think, we have a couple development updates coming up, so we'll share a lot more then. But essentially, you're going to create your profile. You're going to associate Racing Silks with your dynasty, right, with your account. Because you could have multiple avatars, but really you need to have a distinct coat of arms for your profile that represents you, right? And that when you build your dynasty, that's the distinct crest that is represented and associated with your dynasty. And as I get into the Hall of Silks, as I've touched on briefly on some calls, you'll kind of see how that plays in over there. But you're going to create this profile, and people are going to want to look for your account. They're going to want to, at first, they're going to look based on your wallet. So if you have a friend or someone that basically wants to put a horse in your farm, or they want to buy an asset from you, they could basically go into the map, search your wallet, and by doing so, they're going to be able to look at every asset that you own as it relates to the actual game. So you own a horse, it'll show you where the horse is located on the map. You own a piece of land, it'll show you all the pieces of land that you own on the map. You own a farm, etc. All of these things will become visible as it relates to the wallet value that you put in. Which is really cool because if you want to, look someone up online or partner with a friend, that begins. But then as the game rolls out and you essentially create a dynasty name, you create a user, right, like a username or like a, social media ID value, you'll be able to search up those values as well, and even search up farm names. And all of these things will be integrated to allow users to easily find and partner with other players in the game. Obviously, you'll be able to look for coordinates. You'll be able to look based on the name of a broodmare, so you could find the yearling and where it's being housed if you wanted to stable your horse with it or if you wanted to purchase it. And then you'll be able to search based on farm criteria. So you'll be able to set the size of the farms that you want to search for, whether it be a public farm, a private farm, 1 acre, 10 acres, 20 acres, whether it has vacant spots for you to basically stable your horse, whether it's for sale or not for sale. All of these search functionalities will allow for you to interact with the map and allow you to either further develop your land or speculate against land, right, as it relates to the game. Additionally, you'll be able to click on the land you own and go through the land development process, so the land, converting your land to a farm process, where you'll essentially click on the actual land, and then you will be able to click convert to farm, and it'll prompt you to click on all the acres that are contiguous to then kind of farm that land into a farm. And that's going to be really exciting because you're finally going to be able to take this land and turn it into a farm, which will be present on the marketplace and present on this site as well. Let me see. I'm going to share real quick. Let me see. So my computer's kind of bugging for a second. So this is, let me upload. Oh no, that's not the right photo. My bad, everyone. That's not supposed to be there. So that, yeah. Next thing I want to talk about is obviously developing your land. So if you look over here, you'll see that this is kind of a concept we mocked up that essentially is going to show, I guess, a visual representation of being able to look at land that's developed, clicking on the land, and being able to upgrade your land. It's just a visual representation of it. We're going to add it to the gameplay doc, but it's a pretty cool concept that I think expresses the idea of taking land that's already developed, further developing it, and being able to build your dynasty. Just for everyone who did see what I just posted, that is a sneak peek that was not supposed to be given out, so you're lucky you caught that. I don't know if you saved it, but whoever did, that's good for them, because that's something that's in development right now. That's pretty cool. So, yep. And let me just upload this. Do you guys hear me, by the way? Because sometimes I just need to confirm.
Yeah, all good.
Okay. Sounds good. Very nice. So yeah, you just look at these two concepts, which are pretty cool, kind of showing the interaction with a piece of land as it further develops. And yeah, this map is going to be really, really great. And the cool thing about fantasy sports, right, is that it's traditionally a flat experience where you manage rosters, you manage, a roster, a team roster, and it's almost like data tables. So obviously there's that side of fantasy sports that is going to be present in our game, whether you're looking at a roster of racehorses in a stable, right, that are going to be housed in a farm. But there's obviously also the 3D component to it that will really amplify everything we're doing. So one thing about fantasy sports, though, that is really important is the way you interact with data, because you need to be able to look at a player and to be able to click into the player to get as much information as you can, right? If it's fantasy football, you need to be able to to look into Tom Brady, see his maybe even his projected points that he's performed in the past, his stats, all these variables that help you make decisions. The same thing applies to our game, because when you click on land, you're going to want to dive into that land, into a detail view, and learn about the horses that are, well, if it's just a piece of land, it's undeveloped, but you're going to want to click into a farm and basically learn about the horses that are in that farm, right? Whether you could buy one of those horses, whether you could buy the farm itself, whether you want to stable your horse in these farms, right? So everything that you click into has the ability to be clicked into even more, to get into a detail view that will help drive further education as it relates to the game. Next thing I'm going to share is a look at, just a quick look at what I'd call, a stable, not a stable view, a detailed view of a horse. Some of these things are still in development, so I'll share them as they come out, but this is just kind of a quick look at, kind of one of a horse views. Now, one thing we're doing, which I'm not sure if we've shared, I think we haven't, but we are going to be having yearlings this year, right? And they're going to grow over time. And one of the big things about the quality of our game and the amount of effort and work we put into everything is we want this to be a really meaningful ownership experience. So meaning your yearling will grow over time as it does in the real world. So when you do buy an unrevealed, yearling in the coming weeks, that yearling will be smaller in size. It'll be younger looking. And as the game develops and you interact with it, it will grow over time, which is really, really cool. We've put a lot of work into that. I'm not going to share it today because you'll see it as, kind of the sale page goes live, and as you reveal your horse and you see kind of the experience we've catered and put together for that, which is quite unique to the OpenSea space, which everyone will see very soon. But all of that will kind of be kept on the DL until it comes out. But this is just kind of an overview. You'll be able to look at the properties, right? You'll be able to click into the farms. You'll be able to do all these things that relate to the actual horse. And then you'll even be able to click into learning about it, right? So we'll be able to dive into a lot of the pedigree, information associated with the horse itself, and help you make decisions associated with whether you want to buy it, sell it, buy a syndicated interest in it, right? Whether it be a partnership token or a governance token, and all of these things. Additionally, you'll be able to view it in 3D, and then one of these things you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to visit in the metaverse. So I haven't touched on the metaverse section yet, but you'll be able to click into any asset and visit in the metaverse. So, right, if you're on any horse, you could then visit it if it's in a farm, and all of a sudden you'll be in that farm. You'll be able to see all the other horses in that farm. It's going to be quite unique. The marketplace section, I'm not going to touch on right now. We'll share updates on that later. But we're working around some, I'd say, user flows, because if you go to OpenSea, every single contract is separated as a collection. But our game has this unique, right, kind of function where when you're developing farms, the farms are its own contract, right, and the land is its own contract. So we want our marketplace to be able to seamlessly interact between farms and land and allow users to really understand how they want to develop their land, buy land, as it relates to these different NFT assets that, although function on the map the same, their contracts are different. So we're working on how we're going to present that in the marketplace, how we're going to allow for a user to syndicate a horse, but then be able to search for a horse in the marketplace that shows them not just the horse, but the partnership tokens if it's syndicated or the governance token if it's syndicated, and getting all of those things worked out. Now I'm going to talk about the metaverse. There's a lot here. There's a lot we're developing. I'm going to share some things, and yeah, it's pretty exciting. So what I went over just now was a really broad view look at kind of what I'd say the flat experience will be. Now, obviously it's flat, but there's really cool interaction pieces to it, right? How you're viewing the asset, how you're interacting with the asset, etc. But then there's the whole, right, metaverse build, which is you being able to dive into the world and, essentially interact with these NFTs in quite a unique way. So there's two pieces, I'd say, core pieces to the metaverse experience. There's the asset that you own in the metaverse, right? So if you own a farm in the metaverse, right, being able to essentially visit that farm is going to be something that people want to do. I want to invite my friend to my farm. I want to go visit a farm. I want to go check out a horse on my farm. I want to go visit my own horse, right, and interact with it. So all of that's being built out for the land and for being able to visit farms in the game, which is really, really cool. Additionally, we have what we call the Hall of Silks. The Hall of Silks is going to be, if you will, the onboarding experience. Something that our community will really cherish. It will develop throughout the progress of this platform, but also when we're trying to bring on new community members to the platform and they experience this onboarding experience, it's really going to sell the dream of building a dynasty within this game. And the Hall of Silks, which I'll share some concept designs, it's right now in 3D development. The farm and stable are already built out. They're being put in Unity right now. I will say, there's a lot of questions around how much money do I need to play to get into the game, right? I need to buy land, now I need to buy a stable, then I need to buy a horse, and that's more and more friction, right? And the biggest thing for us as a company is not just building an incredible experience, an incredible platform, but the ethos of this space, and I think what we've been preaching to the whole time is like the community is the reason this exists, right? So we're going to only build something that really caters to our early adopters, that caters to growth, and if we don't build like that, how are we supposed to grow, right? So I just want to let everyone know, right? There'll be announcements coming out. There are things that I've already spoken about many times. I'm sure if you listen to AMAs, you'll kind of get a sense of what I'm saying. I haven't made it quite public, but farms and stables and the value associated in Skyfalls will allow every community member to get a lot of value from just being part of it from being an early community member in this game. So we're making it very clear. You've been here early. You've been a part of this community. You're going to get a lot of value. You're going to be able to experience what this metaverse has to experience. And we're very excited to offer that and to build on top of that, right? And the biggest thing is, and I think that this was preached through Dan's short AMA last week, is like there's aligned interest here. There's aligned interest in terms of the value of our assets, the utility of our assets, how we're building and why we're building. And just so that everyone understands, like the beautiful thing about, from my perspective, right, the beautiful thing about Web3 and about NFTs is that there's aligned interest for everyone who owns an asset in a collection together, because you all share in the ownership of an asset that's linked to one another in quite a unique way, whether it's the utility that they all provide, the access they provide, etc. And one of the cool things is that one of the cool ways that NFT projects incentivize even team members is through their NFTs. So to think that our community is not incentivized through our assets, right? There's a shared bond right there between the team, the community, and the collective that makes it that everyone has shared rooted interest in building something meaningful and creating long-term value for everyone who's involved. And that's rooted in just the framework of how this whole thing is built. So I just want to make sure that's very clear, because it's like we spend hours every single day going over the smallest nuances of the game. And we're going to only develop and grow and learn, but like everything we're doing is, the beautiful thing about this is it's shared rooted interest. So that's something I really believe. Maybe I'll even have a spaces about it if anyone wants to talk about it, because I love talking about it. But right now I'm going to share kind of a sneak peek at some of the concepts. I don't even know if I should be sharing all these things, but the Hall of Silks. I might have shared, I don't know if I have. This is kind of an early concept we developed, and it's being built right now for the Hall of Silks. It's going to be the entry point to the game when you actually join the game and you want to enter the metaverse. This is going to be kind of the main hub. So imagine if you go into Decentraland and you're in the main, kind of view, and you're going to essentially port over to different locations on the map. You can imagine the Hall of Silks is one of those main locations. The beautiful thing about this, though, is the Hall of Silks honors the dynasties in our game. So there's going to be a whole experience associated with learning about the platform, learning about developing, learning about gameplay. But then the actual Hall of Silks functions as as a search engine, where you're going to be able to have your stable, your farm, your silks draped on these halls, and it's going to push people when they walk up to it to your farm. It's going to push people to your horses. It's free marketing dollars for the greatest dynasties in our game. And I'm super excited about this, because when you go through this experience, all of a sudden it's going to put this whole game into a real clear picture of like, wow, I could build a dynasty. And it's a global dynasty. It's just going to really bring the whole, I'd say, metaverse fantasy piece to life in a really special way, which is really cool. Another cool piece is kind of this view, which is really nice. And this is kind of like a closer up view. You could understand the scale of an avatar as it relates to the actual Hall of Silks. Like, it's massive, and it's going to be grand, and it's going to be really, really special. And you're going to be able to interact with avatars in the game, NPCs. One thing I was telling Squid we should do, which is really cool, is like the beautiful thing about the metaverse piece is we're going to be able to world build. So we're going to be able to create character stories from our collection that have roles in our game, whether it's the person who's delivering your horse. I won't explain exactly right now how the horses get delivered because that's going to be really cool, which is coming up. Or it's the people you interact with in the Hall of Silks, right? Or it's even the other characters in the game that you bump into when we have, live instances of multiple, avatars in the same environment. But it's an ability to world build, which is really, really cool. And the really great part about that is I think we could even get community members to have their avatars being part of their own stories within the game, right? That could be whether it's in a trailer, whether it's in an interaction in the game, because when you're walking around the Hall of Silks, you'll be able to walk over to NPCs, they'll be able to teach you about the game, teach you about experiences, you'll be able to talk with them, things like that, that all of a sudden you build a story around a character, right? And I think that that's really, really special. Additionally, I'll show this right now, and this is an early concept, but I'll be open to share it. Right, when you walk into the Hall of Silks, there's going to be many different entry doors that bring you to different experiences that really help sell the dream. And obviously, I don't want to tell everyone the whole experience because it'll be really cool to experience it for the first time in the actual metaverse. But this hall is going to be a beautiful, massive hall, almost like some of these magnificent museums that you're able to interact with artifacts that have been NFTs in the past, or being able to interact with NPCs and go into specific tailored experiences. But this hall is going to develop and build over time to be really like the epicenter and center of the game, and it's in the capital and the Skyfalls region of the map, which is really, really cool. So all of that's being built. I might be able to share a quick sneak peek, which I'll do, just so everyone knows. Some of these I might delete after, so either save them now or or take them in. But right now, just share today, kind of some early for the Skyfalls where we have everything being built out inside of the metaverse, and then the stable and farm build is already pretty much done. There's a whole piece there that I guess the community needs to learn about first, and then I'll be able to share. But this is kind of the model of the Hall of Silks that's being modeled in Blender, and then it's going to be brought into Unity, right? Everything we're doing is being built in Unity, and it's going to essentially be able to have users, interact on a web browser. So that's the goal. But here's kind of an entry to the Hall of Silks as it's being built in 3D, and it'll then get textured. Final details will be added, and then we'll pull it into the engine and take it from there, which is really, really cool. But everyone's working so hard. I'm so grateful for everyone. We had a meeting right before this, so we had like a whole kind of presentation and a demo. We actually have a demo happening in 30 minutes, which is why I have to leave, as it relates to the game map and all the other functionalities that we're finalizing. And then smart contracts are being built for the horse sale. All these things are being finalized, which is really, really cool. I'm excited. I got the opportunity to share some of the development updates. On the side of some other updates, just so everyone knows, we're working on finalizing right now the actual page for the sale of the yearlings. So that'll be up. It's pretty creative, pretty cool. I think everyone's going to appreciate it when it goes live on the Silks.io website. Additionally, we're pushing an update to the site that's going to drive further education, so that when a user reaches the site, right, it's going to help them really learn about core gameplay, really teach them about the game, express the value of our assets in the game, and it's going to be tailored to drive education. So that's going to include an update to a native white paper. So right now our white paper pushes everyone off to DocSend, where we have it built out. It'll probably be pushed by tomorrow or maybe end of day today, but you'll have a white paper that's natively built on the actual site. So that way we could track traffic, see where there might be some confusion as we drive traffic to the white paper. We're going to have the gameplay document natively built out as well. There's updates coming to that reflect things about farms and stables that everyone's going to be very excited to hear. So that's coming out either end of this week or early next week. I did release a little bit of alpha for a second as it relates to stables, which is pretty cool. And then the website's going to be updated with with the new homepage in the coming weeks as well, which I think is really, really fantastic. So that's kind of an overview. We have a lot of stuff in the works. I didn't even touch on any of the NFTs as it relates to the pre-reveal of the yearling, or the actual reveal of the yearling, or the reveal experience of the yearling. All these things are being finalized. They're really, really unique. I think that when they do get released and you look at this and you look at other horse racing games ever built, it's quite special. So I'm excited for everyone to see. Thank you everyone. I appreciate all of your time. I hope this was informative, helpful, exciting, and I'm excited for us to continue to share in the coming weeks as we lead up to the sale of our first crop of yearlings. So I'm open to questions. Let me know what you thought, and thank you, everyone.
Huh. That was so sick, Binny. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. And just, I do see some questions. So we're going to have a whole audit, by the way, on the randomization of the horses. It's just so important, so I just want to talk on it because I know how important it is. We are selling unrevealed yearlings, right? So meaning these are not going to be revealed yet, and you're going to have the ability to actively go and reveal your horse. And it's going to be a cool experience. But the way the contract is works, and we'll probably have Michael maybe give an AMA on the randomization function so that everyone gets clarity there. But essentially, each one of the unrevealed horses is going to be a 721 token, and this is a little bit technical, but it's going to have an ID value. It's then going to essentially redeem. It's going to pull a random, I'd say, horse from the catalog, assign it the same ID value, and then basically assign that to the owner. So the IDs of the horses are not assigned till the contract assigns them, which is going to create this whole randomization that allows for trust and, I'd say security across the whole thing. But we're going to have it audited. We'll have an AMA about it and make sure everyone understands kind of how secure that thing is going to be because it's pretty important, So that's that. And it's going to be web-based, the game as well. So meaning we think it's really important that as we build an interoperable game, a game that's going to be able to scale to VR, etc., to onboarding new users, to getting experiences. Right now, the goal is for it to be web-based, and I think that's going to be really, really cool. So, yeah. Let's bring up questions.
Hey guys, Benny, thank you for that presentation. I appreciate all the effort and work you guys are putting into this. My question was, I know like the stable syndication is not going to be anything ready for MVP, and it's not currently on the roadmap, but is that something that is feasible within the game, and is it relatively high on the priority once MVP is launched and things are in the game and we're actually playing?
A million percent. A million percent. I will say at first we were even playing around with ideas. We're not doing it for MVP as we mentioned, but at first we were playing around with ideas of like maybe each acre of land is 10% of a farm, right? And like if you put an acre into a farm and you develop it, you own shared interest in that farm based on the acres you've provided. Things like that. We were even playing around with ideas, but there's going to be a lot of ways for us to build out shared ownership of a farm. And the beautiful thing about Web3 is that, like, and I'm just going to throw it out there right now, but we're going to build everything in a really secure way. You could build contracts that support, for example, lending avatars, right? Silks doesn't need to do that. If a company came out and said we allow for people to lend their assets, that's just a normal contract that someone could write for the blockchain that allows for this functionality. Same thing with shared ownership over assets. But we're going to build out, I think, a native integrated way for people to share in the ownership of a stable, right, of a farm. And that's definitely been on our priority because we're doing it with horses. I think our game is built into shared ownership as a really big piece of our of our ethos. So I'd say 100%. But I just like to throw out those ideas sometimes.
Cool, thank you.
Yep. So you're going to be moving around with your actual keyboard, right? So you're going to be able to adjust your view based on the mouse itself, and then move around with the W, A, and D keys as you interact with the game, right? Or you could use the arrows on the bottom right. Yep. For MVP, you will not be able to use phone for the MVP for the metaverse build. Just I saw that question, but over time, hopefully we'll be able to integrate that. But there is a lift there just from I'd say being able to run it nicely. I think that's a really important thing, right? Is how easily the game experience is for users.
I'll ask my question while he's waiting.
Hey, how's it going?
How you guys doing?
Doing good. How are you?
That was fire, man. I've never been more excited about this project after seeing those slides.
I'm glad. Thank you.
I don't know if you're allowed to share this or not, because I always have questions that probably are going to be revealed, but I'm kind of I'm one for digging. So I was just curious. We're always trying to kind of reward the early people in this game. You know, the winner circle, the 5K OG. Is there going to be like maybe a special gathering place within the halls or like within the game for those people?
That's a really, really great question. Right now, in terms of the scope of MVP, that has not been discussed as it relates to the Hall of Silks, but that's definitely, I think, a great idea that we could talk about for sure, 100%. So we'll totally take that into account. We do have stuff planned for the OG 5K, just as it relates to, kind of early adoption. But yeah, I think that's a really cool idea for the Hall of Silks, which is pretty great. So, thanks.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Looking forward to some more. Looking forward to some more alpha, man.
Yeah. Good.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.